Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. Hope you're having a kick-ass day. If you're loving this podcast, quick reminder, just leave us a review, let us know what you like, and shoot us an email. If there's other topics or guests you'd like us to have, michael@businessforunicorns.com. But today I'm here with Pete. Hello, Pete.
Hello. I'm always impressed by how well you roll out the intro. There was a time when I thought that you recorded it in advance and just kind of slid that in, but you're consistent. It's impressive.
It's like a script. It's like my one-man show, my 10-second one-man show. But I think you saw when we recorded, what was a week or two ago, that I actually fucked it up and we had to start again, but it's only happened once.
It's one time in what feels like 100 episodes in the last couple of years, and I say that from a place of affection, because I do enjoy recording each week.
Yeah, it is fun, but you're right. It's like, how many times have we done this? And you've now have proof that I'm fallible, that I'm not a robot, and it's not recorded. Well, let's dive in. What I wanted to do was I wanted to circle back today because we've done a few episodes that are specific to sports performance facilities, and I promised when we first started having you on the podcast that we would do that from time to time because you have a unique lens on what it's like for our listeners who manage sports performance. And every single time we've done that, not only has there been a powerful lesson for sports performance business owners, but there's always some analogous lesson for people who are not running a sports performance facility. And I'm sure today's topic will be no different. So if you're a sports performance operator out there, this one's for you. And if you're not, this one's also for you. But the topic I wanted to talk about, because I get this question a lot from Unicorn Study members and other clients, is how do you work with teams, right? So if you're running sports performance, often what this looks like is that there are youth athlete teams or maybe semi-professional teams out there in your market, and you want to work with not just one-on-one athletes, but you want to work with whole teams. And I hear there's lots of different approaches for how to do this, but I want to pick your brain today about what have you done at Cressy, what have you seen that works. So let's just start there. What have you experienced yourself or seen that works when it comes to working with athletic teams?
It's a good topic, and I think it's important that I start by educating the audience, or not assuming that the audience fully understands our training model. And so here at CSP, since the day we started, we have taken every athlete through an individual initial assessment, and then we design training material for them based on our findings, how they present during that process, their goals, what their expectations are and what they're shooting for. And that doesn't lend itself well to team training. So when we started in our early years, I think we were anti-team training because it just wasn't quite in line with who we were projecting ourselves to be. And it didn't necessarily mean that we didn't believe in team training. It's just that we picked a very specific niche that we wanted to be known for, individual program design for a specific athletic community. And we wanted to own it and not have mixed messaging. And so we didn't do team training for a long time. We'd say, hey, we're happy to offer maybe team-wide discounts to members of your program. We might be willing to do complimentary initial assessments for people who self-identify as part of a specific team, but we weren't willing to compromise on the model early. Now, in recent years, we've just had so much opportunity thrown at us from a team training perspective that we couldn't just wholesale throw out those leads and say, no, we don't service that population. Sorry, go away. And what we decided to do was compromise a little bit, but not within our traditional hours of operation. So we said to ourselves, you know what, we could take care of an entire team at the end of our workday on Saturdays. So for years, since 2007, we've been open 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. on Saturdays. And we had a hard stop at 2 for no real good reason at all. So we started to dabble with team training at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoons. And we started this with a rugby group well over a decade ago. And over the years, that has been rugby groups. It's been girls varsity soccer. It's been the field hockey team. It has been a swimming club. It's been a variety of things. But that's the first slot that we look to fill for this purpose, 2 to 3 or 2 to 3:30 p.m. on Saturday afternoons. And then the more demand there is, sometimes that becomes a 2 to 3 and then a 3 to 4. or that might be we're going to offer a Sunday morning offering during the portion of the year where we open up for a little bit of training while all of our athletes are in season in the spring, which is a whole other discussion when we go to
Mm-hmm.
7 days a week. But the point is, we introduced it in a way that wasn't disruptive to our existing client base, and we used it pretty much as a loss leader. So what we would do is we'd offer a flat rate to a team for a session, let's say $150 or $200 for a session, and they could bring up to 20 athletes. So real short money for taking care of this
Mm-hmm.
community. And as long as their parents had signed waivers and they came in with the right attitude and they're ready to listen because it's a very specific defined window of time, we'd coach them up and deliver a good training experience and then have something to sell on the back end. So, and that wasn't like a bait and switch sales pitch. I just mean we'd say to them, hey, your captains have committed the team to, let's say, 10 training sessions over the next 10 Saturdays in advance of your season. They cut us a check for $2,000 out of the Boosters Club, or the parents crowdsourced it and wrote a check. You guys are paid in full for that. If you would like to complement this training effort, if you got a taste of it and you liked it and you want a little bit more, here's what we do over here on weekdays. And we could design training material that takes into consideration what we know you're going to be doing this coming Saturday, what you did last week, and what your, say, tryout schedule is, or your practice or game schedule is in the coming weeks or months. And we'd design complementary material that would be specific to you. Here's how this would look from a pricing standpoint. Just let us know if you're interested. And we have contact info for those athletes and their parents because they already signed up for the weekends. And we reiterate it to parents. And we generally will be able to turn team training business into our bread and butter business, which is semi-private training. And it's a wonderful thing because there isn't a lot of salesmanship involved. It's just deliver a good experience, show them that we're decent people and that we have a unique training environment, and then just roll the offer out and not let it be a hard sell. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's so smart. So it sounds like you really have been using team training as a kind of a lead generation tool.
Exactly.
As teams want to work with you, you've been carving out times on the weekends to say, yes, we'll train your team. We're doing it at a rate that makes it kind of a no-brainer for them, right? It's not, you're not making a ton of money off of it, but you're using it as a way to get them through the door and sell them into what you really want them to buy, which is semi-private training. Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. And so it sounds like a lot of those initial opportunities are ones that kind of maybe came to you through your network. And so if for listeners who are like, yeah, I want to do more of that, what thoughts do you have about being proactive and going to build connections with local teams to proactively get that business?
Yeah, well, we didn't do any type of crazy cold outreach or creative
Mm-hmm.
marketing for this. This typically is a function of us serving a certain athlete community. And let's say I know how these all originated. We have an athlete from one of these teams who
Yep.
says, my team could really benefit from this. And I talked to the other captains. Is there a way we can get creative? And I will always just say, well, why don't you introduce us to your coach? Can we introduce your coach, or can we offer for your coach to come in and see what we do here? Would they like to come with you for one of your future training sessions and sit in and just see how this goes? And once we establish a little bit of a rapport with the coach from these different communities, we offer it. But honestly, more often than not, they ask before we can offer.
Sure.
And they say, how can we get the team involved? What does this look like? And so it doesn't feel salesy at all. It's us just servicing a certain type of demand that we historically have not chosen to pursue. And an interesting takeaway that I didn't see coming from this was that it challenged us to think a little bit differently about opportunities we were missing in the semi-private space. So we'd have a really good experience with, say, 15 to 20 athletes simultaneously training in a way that require that we rotate them on a power rack, or they work in tandem. And it causes us to have conversations about like how we might want to adjust our training philosophy in the semi-private model to give a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of what makes team training great when the energy is better because they are collectively pushing each other. There's a degree of camaraderie, a lot of honestly what makes CrossFit great.
Sure.
And we saw that, and I think it has very subtly influenced the way guys like John O'Neill have kind of shifted their mindset as far as how imperative it is that every aspect of our training be individualized. And the answer is not that imperative. is kind of what we took away. It's important in many facets, but it's not mandated across the board. And those group sessions kind of reinforced that lesson, because we still see people get results. There are occasionally people who I will hear from, and they'll say, I heard about your business from so and so. Their son or daughter got amazing results this winter from you. And in my mind, I'm like, who the hell is that person? And then I look and I
Mm-hmm.
realize, oh, they did 10 team training classes, and they're
Mm-hmm.
out there talking about how remarkable the results were from a model that was kind of vanilla and generic in nature in our minds. But it goes to show that you could take a lot of value away from that dynamic. We're not of the mindset anymore that semi-private is the end all be all of training results.
Yeah. What's up, nerds? Michael here. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to just jump in with a quick reminder that we still have spots left for our Coaching Conversations course. It's coming up Friday, October 14th and Saturday, October 15th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It's hosted virtually on Zoom with me, and it's a 2-day workshop to help you and maybe some of your team members learn how to have better conversations. The coaching conversation skills are going to help you when it comes to sales, when it comes to interviewing, when it comes to staff performance management, when it comes to client conflict. All the skills we're going to learn are going to help you in all areas of your business. Our early bird enrollment is over, but still, we still have spots left. You can still enroll. Just go to businessforunicorns.com/coaching conversations. I'll say it again, businessforunicorns.com/coaching conversations. I would love to see you in the course. So hope to see you then. Bye. Yeah, that's a great bonus lesson to take away, right? Because there's something really exciting when teams get together in the same place, and there's kind of like that synergy in the room, and that doesn't come from highly individualized programming. It comes from like thoughtful group programming where people are challenging each other and celebrating each other. So I think it's great that you can have that bonus takeaway. Circling back to the first thing you said. It sounds like one of the best approaches for people who want more of this business is to make sure they know if any of their existing clients or athletes are already part of a team, and use them as a way to get your foot in the door, to meet the other captains, to meet the coaches. I think that makes a ton of sense. And the same thing is true. I'll do the analogy at this point for what I think how this plays out for non-sports performance facilities, is that even if you don't do, quote, team training of athletes, this same strategy applies to any brick and mortar gym. The strategy would just be go find a group of people who are doing something together and offer them the same kind of pitch, right? Go find a book club, go find a cycling group, a running group, and say, hey, do you all want to come in one day a week when you have time available, maybe it's the weekends, and do some training together to prepare for your marathon, to get off your butts from the book club and move a little bit, to, instead of doing yoga together once a week, come in and do some strength training. But if you can get in front of a group of 10, 20, 100 people, that's much faster lead generation than going after one person at a time. Offer them something that gets them in the door, like some team training once a week, and then sell them on the thing you really want them to buy, which is probably something else. And so I want to ask you about that part. So you mentioned that, when people are coming in from team training, you basically are kind of making an offer for them to come and do semi-private. You said it's not a hard sell. So if it's not a hard sell, you can describe, what is it? Is this like an email you're sending out? Is this a one-on-one conversation? How are you converting from team to semi-private?
It's a combination of the two. It's utilizing the downtime during these training sessions, be it the quiet piece of the warm-up where they're doing some foam rolling or mobility work, maybe talking to them about what they did the weekend before, what we'll be doing this weekend, and then talking about, hey, just a reminder, if you guys want to amplify this, if you're feeling good, happy to discuss it with you further. That's in real time while they're in front of us, and we have them as a captive audience. And then it's always a follow-up email to either the coach, who was the point of contact, the best kind of resource, or the parents who just plain paid for it. I mean, to pay for our services in our online payment system, you have to give us an email address so that you can get receipts sent to you. And I have all of that contact info. And so it's not hard to identify who has paid for our services in this context, and email parents and say, hey, just a reminder, if some is good, more is better. Here's how we can further take care of your daughter in the next couple of months. To give you kind of just a plain actionable way of approaching this based on what you just said from a Gen Pop standpoint, I mean, if I had to make up a way to generate some leads for this right this second, I'd open up my calendar. I'd say, how many Saturdays are there until Thanksgiving? And
Mm-hmm.
then I would say to my clients, hey, are any of you running a turkey trot this year? If you're running a 5K, can you tell me who organizes it or what it's called? And I'd send a cold email to the person who's organizing that. And I'd say, hey, I have this idea. A lot of people are going to get hurt on Thanksgiving morning, not warming up properly and probably not making great decisions in their turkey trot. I was thinking I'd do a Saturday training session for $10 a head every
Mm-hmm.
weekend until then. Would you mind me mailing on that list? Or would you mind sending this flyer off to your group? And if we get 5 of them to sign up, you're for free, Mr. Turkey Trot Organizer.
Yep.
And it's done. That's 5 more people that I can pitch semi-private to in person over the next couple months.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And I think this is a strategy that can apply to all kinds of businesses. And I think, with teams in particular, your way in is often kind of a coach or a captain, but there's always an organizer of every group. There's always someone that's the equivalent person. And I think your way of converting from that team experience to semi-privates is so smart. It's like a value add. It's like, if you like this, would you like more of this? Right. It's such an easy soft sell. And to your point, I just want to underline this with, a highlighter and bold marker that, the best way to convert from any trial experience into the offer is in person, when they're with you face to face, is having those conversations. How was your session today? Lots of fun. How would you like to have more fun? What could you accomplish with us for 3 more months, 10 more sessions, right? I mean, that in-person conversion is always the answer. And I've talked to so many teams that are just not well versed in making that their conversion strategy. They wait and they'll email them or text them after they left the building. It's like, why? They're there right then, interacting with you. Have the conversation then. And so I'm so glad you said that, because I think it's such a crucial piece of making those kind of conversions better.
Well, and stuff like this isn't sleazy. This is happening to you every minute of your day, every day. I mean, you sign up for a free Pandora account, and they play a couple songs for you, and you're like, these are great. And then they play a commercial, and they come out of the commercial break, and they're like, would you like this without ads?
Yep.
It's only $4 a month. I mean, this
Yep.
happens to us constantly. And
Yep.
so we're basically saying that, hey, you just got the like, get a taste of this model, heavily discounted, basically subsidized, but you interested in maybe trying a little more? It's not as expensive as you might think. Check this out. So
Yeah.
We just need to stop being afraid of selling.
Yeah. I'm going to leave it there, my friend. I think this is a really concise, easy strategy for anyone listening to follow. Certainly if you're a performance training gym, it's huge. Go work with teams. Use it as a way to get more leads through the door. And if you're a Gem Pop gym, go find groups of people that essentially function like teams. Get them through your door. Maybe you lose a little money on getting them through the door in the first round, but then sell them into sticking around and buying what you really want them to buy. So yeah, great strategy, Pete. I think this is a huge, a swing and a hit. See, that's a baseball analogy.
Look at you.
Look at me. I've come such a long way. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for this, my friend. I really appreciate it. And listeners, if you find this valuable, let us know. Email us. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Appreciate you being here, Pete. And I'll talk to you on the next one.
Talk soon.
Hello, beloved listener. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. This is your loving reminder to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. By giving us some love on your app of choice, you're helping us get the word out to as many gym owners as possible, which means we can invest even more time, energy, and resources into creating the best possible podcast for you. We appreciate your support, and we'll catch you next time.